Wow. Welcome back. It's Putting for Dough. That's Ben Rasa. I'm Eytan Shander, and it was close. It was close. Here is the why. You see Ben scowling right there at
Mhm.
Jazz Ras DFS at Shander Show. He's just upset because Grillo didn't go back to back. But it finally happened on a day in which, Ben Rasa, we do not pick. I feel like every single show you can find Victor Hovland mentioned in some capacity about, winning or top 20. I
Not
don't think
me.
he was in our show, yeah. I mean, every now and again you've come along on my side, but he's been a weekly staple. So was Decky halfway through, and I'm thinking, all right, well, this is going to be the day in which it was. We saw a playoff, another playoff. That seems to be the theme. We've got Canada, we've got the US Open in front of us, but as we invite people, thumbs up, subscribe to the Odd Shopper Golf channel, be a part of this ever-growing golf. This is your home for golf. We have to look back at an up and down tournament, to say the least, that saw yet again another crazy finish in a playoff and a pretty big one for Victor Hovland finally.
Oh, it was definitely a big one for Hovland. It was listen, I was on easy street after Grillo, so I was feeling good going into Memorial. But man, it was a frustrating week. Not because of Hovland winning. I wasn't really close to that. But you mentioned Decky, the man behind you, Ricky. He was there without really being there.
He was.
And then, of course, again, I'm not saying he was going to win, but Morikawa, who was my first bet that I made all week last week. We talked about him on the show. Coming into Sunday, he was a couple shots off the pace.
Two off, Ben. Two off.
And you get the once a year this happens where a guy withdraws mid-round, mid-tournament, particularly when he's in the hunt. So it was just a deflating ending. Rory not choked it away, but he certainly melted a little bit, and Hovland took advantage. Him and Scheffler, I mean, they just right up the board, and that was a disappointing ending to what I thought was a great tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I think from how this thing ended, especially from our standpoint, and granted, because neither one of us had Victor Hovland, it was disappointing. It fell short. The story is Hovland, of course, and what happened there and the ability to survive. Yeah, really, of all people, you would think. But he wouldn't. How many times, though, have we talked about that specifically for Hovland to get over this in order for him to win an event? That's a pretty big one, elevated event. We're not elevated this week, right? This is a quasi-bye, unless you're Rory. So before we get into Oakdale, before we get into the first time here for the RBC, just to tail your point, I think we've been talking specifically about that missing link, if you will, for Hovland to put it together, and he finally did. And we'll see. We'll see if this stuff carries over, at least to the U.S. Open. Probably not, but we'll see.
I mean, he's going to be a popular choice, with him fixing around the green more and more. Putter's not a liability. He's got all the tools. He's a great player. It's just, a lot of times he's priced like a great player and there's not a ton of value, but credit to Hovland. I know a lot of sharp people who had Hovland last week. So good for them. I like it. And now we turn the page to the, Canadian Open, another cool event, rotational. You don't see this a lot, only in the majors, basically.
So absolutely. And two things to think about here. One, this is, as Ben mentioned, rotational. This is the first time that everybody's playing at Oakdale. They'll be back in a couple of years, but this is the first time that it's landed here PGA-wise. The other part of this is that, unlike last year, where it was a quicker trip, right, from Canada to the East Coast for the U.S. Open, this is not going to be an easy trek. I think that's why you'll see some bigger names take a week off. Travel is going to wear on you, things along those lines. Still have some names, still have an attackable board, but don't expect for, I think, the big bombers here as we look at this course, right? And we'll get into what we have going on here in a second as far as other things, Discord and Bet365. But, Ben, just to look at the course, it seems like approach shots, 150, 170 in, being able to articulate, if you will, meaning being accurate off the tee, not just closing your eyes and gripping and ripping it, but really look. In fact, this golf course does reward you if you lay up, as opposed to more narrow fairways when you get deeper off the tee. So some things we do have to look at here for a first-time course.
Oh, there's a lot to look at. And anytime, I don't care what anyone says, anytime there's a new course, there's some positives and some negatives to that, in the sense that if you have a read on the course and you are right, you're going to get numbers that are not efficient in the market because we don't know.
Right.
The problem is the course could play differently than everyone's anticipating. Right now, I look at it as a second shot course. You mentioned irons, kind of the classic hit it close and make your putts. You're going to have to roll it, and you really can't dismantle it off the tee. These fairways look like they narrow. The rough looks pretty bad. It's going to be easy, though. I think people will be able to score. It's not going to be a brutal test. And in that sense that I want my guys kind of who can go low, who can flag hunt, and certainly these are reachable par fives as well. So a lot to factor in, but I think we see the course the same.
Yeah, and I think, as you mentioned, the scoring here, it's not going to be as difficult, clearly, as Memorial last week.
No.
There are going to be more scoring opportunities. But, and as we look at the top of the board here, we should mention the course does have some protection, right? I mean, 6-inch bent grass rough is going to be really difficult to get out of, especially around that green. And the greens themselves, you mentioned, this is why approach shots, this is why wedge to mid irons, depending on where your second shot may find, are so key, because the greens, the false fronts, like the undulation on there, like that's the protection, if you will, from the course. It's beatable. These are elite world putters, so it's beatable. A lot of Euro guys, as you'll notice this week as well. So let's look at this. The top of the board will remind you: New Jersey, Ohio, Colorado, West Virginia, right?
Virginia.
Virginia, part of it.
Don't be hurting the
I'm
Who's.
sorry.
Come
My
on now.
VA people. My
The
VA
Hokies.
people. Yes, that's right. Remind you, as we hit into the top of the board, shop, shop, shop. You four states have the opportunity to turn $1 into 200 at Bet365. 21 or older, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So we always remind to shop the world. But let's start here. All right. So Rory is just unbettable at 5-1. I imagine that Hatton at 12-1 is pretty unbettable. I mean, where do you start? Sam Burns was pretty good. Cam Young missed the cut, although I do think that there's an angle for Cam Young. Matty Fitz has just been up and down. These numbers don't look great. I think I know where you're going, but even at 18-1, my goodness. Even Corey Connors at 16-1, who I would like to slam. I don't necessarily know if I like that number, Ben.
It's a tough sell up top. It's this weird field where it's like it's not an elevated event. It's not a major.
No.
So you're getting tough prices, but it's not like there's nobody here either. And it feels a little uncomfortable. So I get it. Obviously, we say this. Let's say it right off the top. You want to shop these numbers. We're on DraftKings right now. Just make sure you're going to Odd Chopper and you're shopping the numbers, just making sure you're getting the right price. I'll throw out two names at the top. Justin Rose, I saw 20-1 out there. He's got the exact form. Yeah, right before this show. So search that.
Can you
18-1 is fine,
me where that is? Because I may be limited on that book. I checked the book.
No, I was on FanDuel.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I missed. Okay,
so
Rose at 20-1 is an auto smash here.
I mean, 18-1, I think, is in range. He's doing everything that I want. You've got irons working, putting working. Let's see. Let me just make sure. No, all right. So he's 18-1 at both books right now, but still, I'm fine with 18. He's been good at the big events, Players, Masters, PGA. I think Rose, he's got a win earlier the year, make a lot of sense. And then I don't love the number on Fitzy, but I like him more than the guys in his range. RBC, an RBC guy maybe, good with the irons, 9th at Memorial. He can always roll it. And you mentioned, I mean, they're European in, birthright. They've been playing over here for quite some time, but I do think there's a stylistic advantage to some of these guys that kind of know how to work in and out of this. They both can really putt it. If it's first to 20 under, I'm still okay with these two guys on my card.
No, I get it. I totally get it. I think that to open things up, there is a pathway. If you just look at metric, if you just look at fit, if you just look at what's required, if you just look at where he's been playing and ranking with this field, so much of it is going up against the field as well as the course. It's always the course first. At 16-1, I simply would rather play Justin Rose or Shane Lowry with two top 16s that we've just seen from him. So 16-1 makes Corey Connors, for me, Ben, super difficult to play. But I think matchups, I think top 20, I think areas that you can attack are going to be outside of simply an outright for a guy who, from again, from a metric standpoint, should be working with everything in there. And outside of anywhere else, look, Fleetwood is fine at 20-1, but I think the better value here would be Lowry at 20-1 personally. And that speaks to his ability to navigate a course, if in fact scrambling around that green to put himself in a save par situation. Shane Lowry at 20-1 in this field seems like a good bet to me.
I love the way that Shane Lowry's, been doing some things. He's playing really well. My biggest concern about Shane Lowry is if the course is really easy, how many putts can he realistically make? Because if it's brutal, if it's harder, Shane Lowry thrives. He's great at long par fours. He's great at avoiding damage. Can he out birdie everyone else? Because that's going to be difficult if the winner again has 25 birdies on the week. And I think we could see something where guys are really going low this week.
What do you think? See, I'm looking at like 12, 13 under.
Oh, yeah, I think it's going to be more than that.
So here's the thing. This course is going to start out at like 7,200, but it's probably going to end at like 7,500, right? Like they're just going to keep adding yardage each day to this. They're going to switch the pins around. It's a new course. I think you'll see some guys that won't be there shoot up the leaderboard, if that makes sense. And then, some seasoned players will definitely even things out. So what do you think is the winning score, if you will?
Let's say like 17 under.
Okay. So we're not totally far.
No, we're not totally far. I just, if the easier that it plays, the more emphasis on target golf, on just attacking. And Shane Lowry to me is a master of, I'm going to, really difficult. I'm going to get it up and down. I'm going to save par. I'm going to do what I do. But I don't think of him as, I'm going to hit everything to 15 feet and just bury 8 of those putts, which is what you might need here.
All right, let's look at this mid-range, if you will. I'll scroll down if you don't see anybody. Again, shop around, but I can tell you right away, I see a name that I'm interested in specifically in this field. Strokes gained approach, putting on bent POA greens. Like, that's it. Like, that's the greens themselves and approach shots. That's what you just said, right? So to speak to your strategy, this is the guy.
I knew you were going to say that.
You may not like it, but but he is the guy. And you know what? He doesn't have to hit the ball 350 off the tee every time.
He's just talk about all over the place. He lost 7.5 strokes with his irons last week.
Damn it. I was hoping you didn't have DG in front of you.
Damn it. It's they're.
It's not good. It's right.
It's not good, but it is. I think it's an objectively good spot for Kuchar. Again, I'm not going to relate this straight to Harbor Town by any stretch because I think that's a different type of setup. But I think there are characteristics that you're going to take with you from what we see down at Hilton Head. I just think that's kind of the nature of it. This range is wild. So you've got Holgard, who's come over here and shown that he can play. This is obviously Nikolai, not Rasmus. But I don't love the number. Now, we've got Ludwig Aberg, who is going to be a name we're going to be talking about for quite a while, but I'm not even close to going there blindly. This kid's got a ton of talent. He's the next big thing, but it's pretty far-fetched that he's just going to come in and win. We're talking about outrights here. I don't have much in this range. My favorite guy by far was Ben Yon, and he withdrew right before we filmed.
He was really popping too.
Yeah, he
last couple rounds. And I don't know how much you weight last 12, last 36. We don't really hit that a lot in this show, but he was coming in, especially just tee to green, just being able to navigate different holes. He was a great play. And as soon as I saw your tweet at JazzRez DFS, of course, about that, I was like, oh man, there goes our show. Because we were going to build a lot around both you and I think, today.
Hey, but I give credit to Benny. Also, just an overall seems like a real cool dude. I'm glad that he withdrew on Monday and not Thursday.
Thank you.
That really helps us in the DFS streets. So
yes, it does. Yes. It does. All right. Well, if you want to move on, let's move on.
Let's go down a little bit.
But before we pass, this is a name we've talked about.
You love this guy.
Well, you know what, though? Again, it's the strokes gained approach. Last 36, he's popping in this group. If you just look at what's necessary here, I think overall to the areas that we've talked about attacking, Cole meets, I think, a lot of this. And it's more just a mixture of of total strokes gained total of strokes gained off the tee, of just approach shots, of putting on this surface, like things like that just match up. Look, this is going to be the field in which a guy like Eric Cole will survive and push through. I'm not willing to put him next week, but I think in this type of field, we talked about a guy like Kuchar. This is a little bit less, a little bit longer of an odd shot, but Cole just meets metric. So again, if you look at that with a combination, Ben, of this being the type of field/event where a guy like Cole in this range can sneak in, this is where I would put it. Not wanting and dunning Eric Cole by any means. I'm just saying as far as a longer shot outright.
I get it. I mean, so this is a guy, like I said, coming into the year, not I don't even know if I knew who this guy was.
I didn't.
And he certainly has made a name for himself. The thing I like about him, there's a couple different parts. One, he's kind of a whack-a-mole player. And what I mean by that is it can be anything any week. We have seen him gain 8 strokes putting this year. Seen it. Got crazy hot with the putter at times. We've seen him gain like 5 strokes on the approach in certain tournaments. We've seen that. He's gained 5 strokes around the green. He did it at the PGA and he came in 15th. His off the tee game is relatively weak, but I think that's the least important metric for this course. So you look at what he's doing at Memorial. He gained 5 strokes putting last week. And then, when he was runner up at Honda, it was irons and putting combination. So he can do it. 65, I think that number's pretty fair. What about Michael Kim, though? Because Michael Kim at 80 is another name that I think he's doing a lot of the same things that you're talking about. Yeah. He's that prototype of he can really roll it. There's no doubt about it. He's playing great. He was 7th at Wells Fargo. He missed the cut at Byron, and he rebounded with the 6th place at the Charles Schwab. He's gained across the board with all of those, but he's known as an elite putter, an elite power putter as well. So I look at Michael Kim. I think he does everything that you could ask for a course like this. And if we get one of those, he gains 8 strokes putting, Denny McCarthy style, like we saw at Memorial, he could be right there this week.
I agree. I think we're talking about something similar. I guess with these 3 guys who are currently on our screen with Kuchar, Cole, and Kim, about putting multiple things together. But if they do, this becomes a winnable event. As crazy as that's now, look at 80 to 1, 65 to 1, even 40 to 1. There are multiple things that need to come together, and we haven't really seen that collectively. But I'm with you. I think the strategy here, and again, these are played top 20s at plus money and elsewhere, but I think the strategy in approaching this absolutely makes sense.
I mean, you
anybody else? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, to win a golf tournament, you have to strike. Like, you're talking about guys on our screen. How many wins will they have for the rest of their lives? The answer maybe is 1, 2, if we're generous. You need it all to sync up once. And you know that you're going to be betting these guys maybe 10, 12 weeks in a year saying, can I just get 1 and I'll come out way ahead? So I get it, but I'm comfortable that they at least have a path to success. Don't scroll too far. My last pick is on the screen.
Sam Ryder?
No, even though Sam Ryder is like a triple mega mind genius play because he also can really roll it.
Yeah, he can. I'm going to put Sam Ryder top 10.
I backed Ryder
as my long shot.
What's your long shot? Mark Hubbard. Mark Hubbard's playing amazing.
Hubbard. He is. I just saw Hubbard tee to green, strokes gained total. Actually, he's top 10 in this field. Strokes gained total.
He's just playing
easy
amazing.
Scoring conditions. Sorry.
Yeah, he's just playing great golf. 6 straight made cuts, 6 straight positive with the irons, 4 out of 6 positive with the putter, 1 out of 6 positive off the tee. Same formula. Off the tee, minimize the damage, lean on your irons, roll the ball into the hole. He's been doing that. He has great bent splits. He's not a Bermuda putter at all. It's 130 to 1, but this is the type of guy like 9 to 1 for a top 10.
Yeah,
I'm very content with. I think Hubbard's going to play well. He quietly was in the mix at Memorial, and then he faded a little bit. He's playing good golf right now.
This is a great card for this event. I'm actually pretty impressed.
Listen, we have to say this every week. It's just the nature of golf betting. There's this gigantic banner that says, warning, all of this is super effective if Rory doesn't just blow this field away, and he
Sure.
might. Like, if Rory brings it, we're all in trouble, because I'm not betting him at 5-1.
No, in fact, I think this would be a good time to remind you that there are books out there that will offer you a bet winner without Rory, right? Like something along those
Yeah.
lines.
But your
That's
odds obviously
exactly.
suffer. Yeah.
They will. They will. And in some cases, a book will offer you that without even a dead heat. But again, the odds are going to suffer. So it's give and take. But you're
Yep.
right. That's ultimately what we're betting against. And I feel like this is what we're doing every week. If it's 1, 2, or even 3 guys, we're simply finding people in the field that can counter them. Nobody's going to deny what we've seen from Scotty Scheffler. I mean, my God, if this
Go
guy,
ahead.
if he figures out like some sort of spike putting and just can put this thing together consistently day to day, he's going to dominate. Like this is going to be Woods level of domination, except
And
it probably won't be majors.
his tee to green game is not comparable to anything that I've seen. He gains like 15 strokes tee to green, and then he loses like 8 strokes putting, and he comes in third. It's not a real thing.
No, it doesn't make. It's a video game. Like it's like somebody has just changed the difficulty level all of a sudden. Like you go from beginner to like super expert, and it's like you're on in 2 every par 5,
good.
and you somehow 3 putt.
It's scary. It's expensive because I'm not Scheffler at these prices, but we don't have him in this field. It's really
No.
We've got Rory and he's a dangerous player, but that just proves again why you don't have to take only outrights. You can make some top 10s. You can take some top 20s. You've got some matchups. And as the tee times come out, I know you'll be in our Discord. I'll be in our Discord. If you're looking for that type of stuff, I think it's better to bet closer to, let's get more information, the win splits, first round leaders, maybe going to target some of those AM guys. Link is below if you want to sweat out the golf with us, 50% off that first week. Because I have not built out that part of my card. I don't do that on Mondays. And I definitely think I'm going to have some top 20s, top 40s on this type of field.
Absolutely. And again, matchups, top 40s, top 20s, all first round leader if you want to get a little crazy.
Oh, yeah.
We have all of that, as Ben mentioned on the Discord. So come hang with us. U.S. Open right around the corner. We got to get through this first, all right? And then we'll be there, my friend.
It's good. And we've done this for 2 majors, and we're going to do 3 right now. Say it every time. If there is a player in this field in Canada that you like for the U.S. Open, the time to bet them if you think they play well is now. If Corey Connors or Tommy Fleet, I don't care who it is, if they win in Canada, their number is destroyed for the U.S. Open. So you want to jump on that. Now, if you think for some reason they're going to play shitty this week, you might want to wait. You'll get a better number. It's just the risk reward of seeing your guy play the week before a major.
At Jazz Raz DFS, at Shander Show. Thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. Maybe you just wanted to see the show first. Make sure that you know what you're getting into. Come on, come hang with us. Be a part of this fantastic golf community. Lindy's here as well, so you don't have to worry about that. He's also on the Discord, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, we'll see you next week.